everybody, it's Kate Kalthoff, and this is Fab Friday Facebook Live, and we're going to be doing some watercoloring with Wink of Stella. So let me just make sure that everybody's on here and that I've got something happening here on my page. It always takes a minute to get this all rolling. Thank you so much for being so patient, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's just great being here. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you how to create a card with the Wink of Stella as a watercolor option for you. So let me go ahead and show you the stamp set that we're going to use. It's called Graceful Garden, and it's one of the stamp sets that are carrying over into the new catalog, so I'm excited about that. And the card we're going to make is this one. And this is what I'm going to mail out to two of my winners. So what I'm going to do is give away 2 cards, as I always do, and it's going to be the card that we make today. And because you can see there's a little twine on here, I happen to have 2 extra full packs of Stampin' Up! Linen threads, so I'm going to mail that out. And of course, we're not actually going to do this immediately, because I found out that it's a little nicer for everyone to have a chance to watch the video. So as long as you comment or share, you have through the weekend to do this. And then on Monday morning, I'll pick a couple of winners from WooBox and contact you and let you know that you have won. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started here pretty soon. Again, thank you everyone so much for joining me, and let's go ahead and work with this Graceful Garden stamp set. And then I also have some cards that I'm going to show you that use the Pretty Petals 6x6 stack. I just checked online and this stack is still available. It's a 6x6 paper stack from Stampin' Up! That is being discontinued, and I'm sorry to see it go because I love it. So let me go ahead and flip the camera. And let me start again by showing you the stamp set that we're going to be using today. And again, this one is the Graceful Garden stamp set carrying through into the new catalog. This is the card we're going to be making, and it is so pretty. You can see all that sparkle. So we'll be showing you how to make that. And then this is the giveaway. You have until Monday, the day after Mother's Day, to make comments. I'll do the drawing on Monday morning. So let's first of all look at the Petal Garden 6x6 paper pack. And like I said, it's still available. This is one of the cards that I created from this pack. And you can see, actually, I used this paper right here at the very top. And I also used a foil doily. The foil doilies are not staying around this year, so we will have to say goodbye to those. And I will tell you, the new doilies that are coming in are going to be gorgeous and versatile, but there is something beautiful about foil because it just catches the light so perfectly. So I'm not sure if these are still available. However, you can always quickly check by going to my online store and just typing in that part number. If it doesn't come up, that means it's already gone. But I do know that at least as of 10 o'clock on Friday morning, this Petal Garden 6x6 paper stack was still available. One of my downline members out in South Dakota, Joyce Paulson, was it Joyce Paulson? No, actually I think it was her downline, Sheila Kammerer. She created some cards that I cased, this was a few months back, but I'm in I have a Sunshine Club, and I have long distance options and local options, so be sure to contact me if you're interested. But we do a charity card every single month, and we donate these to my church, and they send them out to various people in the community that need some prayers. And so these cards are all created lickety-split in just a few minutes because they are so easy. All you're doing is actually just taking this Petal Garden Designer Series paper and cutting it down to card front size, which is 4 by 5 1/4. Layer it onto a thick piece of Whisper White cardstock and just go ahead and stamp a sentiment. Of course, here I've used a die cutting machine to cut it out, but you could even punch it out. It'd be just so easy. And so these are the 3 cards that we did way back. I think it was like November. And again, this is using a paper pack that gives you 4 of each sheet. So you would have 4 of this card, 4 of this card, 4 of this card. Boom, done. So quick and easy. So that'd be 12 cards right there out of this gorgeous paper pack. All right, so we will be using that today. And then let me share with you the original card that I made. And this was a technique card, again, that I did with my club members. It was, I think, in January, and I was inspired by Susan Barron. In fact, I've got this here. She and I were in a shoebox swap together at convention. That was really, really fun. And she created this card, and as soon as I saw it, I said, oh my gosh, I have to do this with my club members. And so we did. We pretty much just cased Susan's card. And as you can see, well, hopefully you can see this. I'll see if I can turn the light on it a little better. We have lovely, lovely sparkly here. And it is created, again, with this Wink of Stella. And so this is the very same technique that we're using today. So let me show you, again, the card that we're going to make today, which is right here. And it is so pretty and sparkly. So shall we get started? We are going to start... You know, you're wondering what this paper here is in the background. This is our wood texture 6x6 paper pack. And so this is very exciting news, but this is carrying over into the new catalog. And so I'll just flip through this real quickly. But this is great for making masculine cards. And of course, feminine cards as well, which is kind of the one we're making today. But look at, there's even some white patterns. I would like to have this in about 3 feet by 3 feet because I think it would make a gorgeous background for me to take pictures on. Look at that. But it's just 6 by 6. I suppose I could tape it together, but it'd probably look a little hokey. And then there was one pattern that I wasn't using so much, and it was this one. Oh my gosh, it just reminds me of, like, you know, paneling from the late 1960s. And I just couldn't get into it. And I was like, oh, this paper here was kind of stacking up, and I thought, I've got to come up with a card that uses this paneling paper. And so, and the other side too is this very light paneling. Seriously, we still have a closet back at the farm that has this exact same paneling. And I'm pretty sure my grandpa built it back in like 1960. So yes, that is a thing of the past, and it was not a color I was really attracted to. But all of the other papers I used quite a lot through the year. But then I came up with this card that uses that kind of awkward 1960s paneling, and I love it. So let's go ahead and make it. So the first thing that we're going to need is our base card, and this is Early Espresso. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And all I'm going to do here is fold this. And I'll just take my bone folder and finish this out. I just hate it when my cards are popping up all the time when I'm working with them, probably because I so often use a liquid multi-purpose glue. And I don't want my card front popping up and dinking onto the glue and making it a mess. So that's why I always have my cards really flat, in case you're ever wondering. Then we'll do our inside panel, which is going to be very fast and simple. It is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of this late 60s paneling wood textures paper. Then we have a 1/2 inch strip of the, what is it called again? I just had it here. The Petal Garden 6 by 6 stack here. So just a 1/2 inch strip, and I just used a green pattern. So I'm going to take some soft suede ink. We're going to be using 2 inks today, soft suede and Early Espresso. But for all of our sponging, we're going to use soft suede. And then how many of you remember this little thing? This is a blast from the past. This little guy came from my great-grandpa's house in Morgan, Minnesota. And it was underneath the couch. And it, you know, back then they had a lot of wood floors. Of course, we do now too, but there was a period where everybody had carpet. And so then these kind of went to the wayside. But my grandpa's couch used to have these little glass coasters underneath the legs so that, you know, it didn't gouge into the floor. So somehow or another, I got this, and I love it. I use it sometimes to put my sponge in, especially if I don't want sponge marks on my table. So this is soft suede ink, and I'm just going to take this 1/2 inch strip of this old olive patterned paper from our Petal Garden 6 by 6 paper stack, and I'm just going to put a little ink all over this. It's a little hard to do a 1/2 inch strip, but I think I got it done here. So then we're going to put it on this 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of paper. And I'm just, again, going to take some multi-purpose liquid glue here. And we're just going to take a little line. And we don't need very much. The trick with glue is to not use very much. You want to keep it as little as possible. There we go. Wow, I'm so excited to see so many of you joining me today. Thank you. I was afraid doing a Facebook Live at 10 a.m. in the morning would be a little tricky because I was thinking, oh, maybe there won't be many people on. But it's nice to have you here. Thank you for joining. I just can't do Friday afternoons, but I do love doing a Facebook Live on Friday. Kind of a fun way to wrap up the week. So here's my inside panel. Like I said, pretty easy. I think we're just going to go ahead and just do some snail here. Well, I get it working here. There we go. Some snail across the top. And then we'll set this in, making sure all 4 borders are even. And there's our inside panel. You know, against the early espresso, this kind of late 1960s paneling paper looks really good, don't you think? I think the early espresso is the key. All right, so now let's get to the fun part here. So we are going to bring into the picture my Stamparatus. Hooray! Did you guys know that I was on the development team for helping to create this wonderful tool? And so as a result of that, I got to have one quite early, and I'm really excited about it. I've loved using it here. So now, just like your Big Shot, this has ways of layering. So I just have this here because I had pre-inked it prior to the video and I didn't want it on my paper because I already have that here. So we have our little paneling paper, and this is 4 by 5 1/4, just our standard paper that we put on top of a card base. And I have 1 magnet out. I will never get 2 magnets out at the same time. That would be very silly. That other magnet is a backup magnet that I just keep back here if I accidentally lose this. Or if it breaks or something like that. So I just keep that one back here, and I never get 2 out at the same time, because if you do that, you risk having them come together and break. Then I already figured out where this needs to go, and so one of the nice things about the Stamparatus, as you know, and I'm not going to take a lot of time on this, but these little panels with the hinges come out, so you can use it on this side, and then it also comes with 2, so you can use it on this side, and then you can flip it over, so you can actually stamp with all 4 sides without having to change your stamps out. So we'll set this in, and we are going to ink this up with Early Espresso. So here's my Early Espresso. Now you might be wondering, why do you need to use the Stamparatus for this particular project? Well, how many of you have ever, you know, gotten one of your pieces of precious designer series paper that you are going to stamp on, and then the first time you stamp on the designer series paper, sometimes there's like a little bit of a coating on designer series paper. Have you ever noticed that? And you don't always get the perfect image when you stamp. And so this will allow me to get the perfect image, because if it doesn't come out perfect the first time, I know that with the Stamparatus it will be perfectly lined up for me to get that perfect image the second time. Now see, this is so good that this happened, because I'm going to bring this up to the camera so you can see real close. I didn't get a perfect image right here. Actually, I kind of did that purposely because I wanted to show you how awesome this Stamparatus tool is. So let me re-ink, and then we are going to put this on one more time, and I'm going to press more or less just in that area where I was having difficulties. And look at that. Perfect! Perfect! I'm so excited. So that is one of the things about the Stamparatus tool that I love. And yes, it's very good for just doing one at a time. You don't have to worry about doing multiples. Of course, I am going to leave this here because I want to make a few of these cards. They're so pretty and fun. So let me go ahead now and get the Stamparatus out of the way. Oh, and I meant to mention to you, and I should have done this before, but it's just like your Big Shot machine. You have to do layers with the Stamparatus. So as you can see, I was using a red rubber Clearmount stamp today. Well, for me, my machine likes a little bit of shim, and so keep your directions because this makes a great shim. I have, you know, it's perfectly sized to fit on here, and then I just put a piece of very vanilla paper over the top and then put my thing in and then add my magnet and away I go. So remember that when you first get your Stamparatus, it's going to take a few times to get used to it, and you may have some oops-ups. That is probably okay because it will teach you even better how to use your Stamparatus. But just play with some scrap paper in the beginning to really get used to your Stamparatus. Okay, so let's bring our flower back into the picture here. And what I'm going to do is share the technique now. So yeah, I'm finally getting to it, right? Okay, so here we have just a piece of window sheet. And I've got two ink colors here. This is Old Olive and this one is Rich Razzleberry. So I'm gonna put just a drop of Old Olive down and a drop of Rich Razzleberry. And this reminds me to tell you that if any of you are ever purchasing ink pads from Stampin' Up, I really recommend to my customers that they get the ink refill right away. It just makes sense, because then you never have to worry about it. If your pad goes a little bit dry, you can just do a little bit of an ink refill. And then if the color is ever discontinued, you don't have to scramble and quick place, you know, that order to get your ink refill because you'll already have it. Here is my Wink of Stella. And what I'm going to do is just pull away some color. And we're going to use this just like an aqua pen. It's awesome, and it does not ruin your Wink of Stella. The color does not go up into the Wink of Stella. I've done many of these cards, and my club members were all using this, and all of the Wink of Stellas were just fine afterwards. Now, if this is something that concerns you, just buy a Wink of Stella and dedicate it. Set it aside just for this technique. But I have truly found that I don't need to set it aside. I can just use the one, you know, over and over, and it works great because you'll just take the color off when you are done, just like you do with an aqua pen. So what I'm doing is just going along here and coloring in the stem with our Old Olive ink refill. Then I can go in and color the leaves. And what's really nice about these Wink of Stella pens is they have the most incredibly thin brush, so you can really do some super detailed coloring, provided you're not doing a Facebook Live and you're shaking. so that if I were not on Facebook Live, I'm sure I'd be doing a little bit better job. But I don't want to get my head in front of the camera either. So I'll just do a little bit here just to give you an idea. But look at how tiny this little brush is. I can just come in here and just do these tiny little sections, and look at how perfect that works. Okay, so then when you want to change color, which I do here, I'm not going to do all of this green, but I'm going to show you now how to change color. So then you just take your Wink of Stella and you just brush it off until the green goes away and it runs clear, and then you're ready to roll with your next color. So our next color is going to be Rich Razzleberry. So again, I'm just going to take my Wink of Stella brush, and I'm going to pull away the color. This is the Rich Razzleberry color now. And then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start putting that color on. And again, we'll just grab a little bit more. And you know, while you're doing it, of course you're looking at it and thinking, oh, this isn't turning out. I always think that when I'm watercoloring. It's like very common. If you watercolor, you think at the time as you're doing it, it's not turning out. But persevere, don't throw it away, don't put it in that circular file. Just keep going with it. And when it's all done, I can just about guarantee it will look amazing. So here we go. So you can see how beautifully soft the Rich Razzleberry gets with the Wink of Stella. And then also it's kind of cool because it sort of has this old-fashioned sort of wood-burned look because of this paneling paper that we're using. So I'm going to just clean up my brush here, and I'm going to give you a close-up of what I've done. So let me hold this up to the camera. I think hopefully you can see this. I'm hoping I'm holding it in a good spot here. But you can see there's some shimmer, and you can also see that gorgeous color that we did just brushing on with Wink of Stella. And our Wink of Stella is actually ready to go. So if you wanted to use this on a different card, like for example, let's just pretend this is a card and I want to add some Wink of Stella now. Let's just go onto this leaf and look at that. There's absolutely no color carryover from our green or our rich razzleberry. So you don't need to go out and buy a separate Wink of Stella, but if you want to, of course, and dedicate it, you can. So let's get back to making this card now that I've shown you the technique. Let me make sure I have this out of the way, because I did pre-do this in advance for you. So here's one I did in advance so we wouldn't have to take the time to color it. And I'm going to bring my sponge back into the picture along with our soft suede. Soft suede is such an awesome color for adding a little sponging. So I'm just going to bring some color up from the bottom, give it kind of a little bit of an antiqued look here. And there we go. And then I'm just going to take the color and just sponge all the way around the edge, just like this, just to kind of finish that off. And that card is now ready for us to put together. So there's our panel that's all done. Let me grab a couple more strips of our 6x6 Petal Garden paper stack, and I've got some strips here. So I've got a 1/2 inch strip, and then I've got a 3/4 by 4 inch strip, and I'm just going to take my sponge, and again we're just going to kind of distress this up with some, so what is it called again? Soft suede. So there's one, and then here's our other one. Maybe I should have done this in advance, but sometimes I am amazed at how many people aren't sure how to sponge. So I thought, you know what, I will show you online. I just hold it, and then I just take the sponge, and I just, you know, sponge away on the edge. It gives it a nice look. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this on. So I'll use some multi-purpose liquid glue here, and I'm just going to take a line and just run it right along our card, like that. So we'll go ahead and put this long skinny one on first. This is the 1/2 inch one. And just make sure that you have it, you know, pretty much straight up and down. And then you can just take your scissors and trim that even with the bottom of the card. And then we're going to put on our 3/4 inch panel. And again, we'll just use some multi-purpose liquid glue here on the back. And we'll put this on right here at the bottom, and just make sure everything is nice and flush. And that looks pretty good. All right. So now the next thing to do is to grab our linen thread, and we are going to tie a bow. And my assistant yesterday shared a little tip with me. I cannot believe I have been in Stampin' Up! This long and did not know this tip. So for those of you that know this tip, just feel like, wow, I know a lot more than Kay does. But I found out yesterday, have you guys ever been irritated by the fact that our linen thread still comes on these cardstock panels? It's not on a spool. So I was complaining to my assistant yesterday about these little kinks that you get from the cardstock panel. And she goes, oh, okay, don't you know the secret for taking that out? And I'm like, no, let me in on the secret. I need to know. So she goes, just take your thumb or your fingernail and just rub it wherever there's a kink. So wherever you see a kink, just go like this. And the kink is gone. I mean, like, hello, no one ever told me that until yesterday. And so now you can get all of your little kinks out of your linen thread. So another little tip for you. Again, you guys probably knew this. I did not. So there is a tip. And I'm doing quite a few, I'm taking quite a few of the kinks up because we need quite a bit of linen thread for wrapping this card. All right, so here we go. We're gonna wrap. We're gonna wrap it 3 times. Wow, I take it some of you guys did not know that tip because I just saw a flood of hearts come across my screen. So thank you so much. I'm glad I shared it. Okay, so then we'll just grab a scissors. And again, here's the kink. See, I told you I had to take a lot of kinks out because there's a lot of thread here. So again, to get rid of the kink, you just take your thumbnail and rub over the kink, and magically the kink goes away. So to do this, I'm just going to tie it in a knot because I want it to stay in place while I work with it. And then I'll tie it in a bow. So there's my knot. And now we'll do the bow. Well, we'll give that bow another try. And there it is. Very pretty. Then to make it even extra pretty, just kind of fiddle with it for a couple of seconds here. And you have a beautiful bow for your card. Trim off any excess ribbon. And there it is. Isn't that gorgeous, you guys? I just love it. I hope you do too. Someone's going to be getting this card. Then what we can do is we will just take some snail to the back. Actually, let me run over here. All right, so we got this all ready to secure onto the front of our card. And again, we're just going to center this in so everything is nice and even. All the borders look nice. We'll give that a little press. And our card is done. So there is the card I just made. Here is the card I had made in advance, and I will give these 2 away so that you guys can enjoy them in real life. So somebody's going to get one. So when am I doing this drawing again? Let me remind you. It is going to be on Monday morning sometime, and I'll contact you to let you know the winner. And then I'm also going to give away a full pack of linen thread with each of these. So again, thank you very much for joining me. I truly appreciate you. Hope you love these Fab Fridays and Make It Mondays. And I'll go ahead and sign off here, and I'll put this up on my blog and get it up on YouTube. But anyway, I will have the Facebook Live open for commenting and sharing throughout the weekend, and then I'll do my Woo Box drawing on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. I truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.